Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Mystery Babylon. We are going to begin part 2 today, entitled The Jesuits, the Hidden Powers Behind Catholicism. And if you really want to get an idea of where we're going in the series, I highly encourage you to go and watch the first video. The link will be in the description to that first video entitled Mystery Babylon, Unity to the East, All Roads Lead to Rome. And it'll give you a great idea as we sort of lay the foundation, the platform for where we're going in this series. And I really pray that something spoke to you, if it was just even one thing that spoke to you through that first video. And I pray that through the Holy Spirit, more truth will be revealed to you as you understand, or the veil is removed and you can begin to see the deception that is in this world and the contamination that is in this world. You know, the Bible says we're in the world, but we're not of the world. We are basically, we sojourn as we're passing through. So before we jump into the content of part 2, I just want to quickly address a question. I got into a debate with someone on a group forum that I'm involved with, that I'm part of, and they questioned where I said, you know, the Roman Empire, or Rome, is the Antichrist system. And I think there needs to be a bit more clarification to that. So first of all, the argument was that how can the Antichrist today be from the Roman Empire or from Papal Rome if Rome was destroyed? You know, we know that the Roman Empire, the only empire that literally, or the only major world empire that was defeated from inside out. They basically deteriorated from the inside out due to moral corruption and all that stuff. So during that time, the Roman Empire, we know that through evidence through the Gospels, that during the time of Jesus, King Herod, although he was the king of Israel, they were controlled by the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire took hold, seas of Jerusalem, and they basically, you know, controlled the Jews during that time, because the Roman Empire was the empire of the day. Jesus was even crucified by the hand of the Roman powers. So the Roman Empire was a great empire during that time. Then what happened is, through the centuries, after Rome invaded Jerusalem 70 AD, and from there onwards, what happens is Emperor Constantine started to realize, because there was a mass pilgrimage of pilgrimage of people coming from the east and from Egypt and from the area of North Africa and even Midwest, East Africa. They were pilgriming towards Rome because Christianity there was like a burst of growth in Christianity, and it was becoming such a popular religious practice that Emperor Constantine decided he's going to ride this wave of this mass pilgrimage, everybody coming from Egypt and all the North African countries and other areas around the world coming to Rome to basically either get converted to Christianity or to hear the message of the gospel that was initiated from Jesus' early apostles. And he decided he's going to have a false conversion. History tells us he went into the river and he baptized himself and a great number of soldiers with him, and he supposedly changed to Christianity. And what Emperor Constantine did is he made Christianity the official religious practice of the day. So we see the Roman Empire, the great Roman Empire during the time of Jesus and the early apostles, and then what happened is it started to disintegrate from the inside out. And during that time, when Emperor Constantine supposedly converted to Christianity, it changed from ancient Rome to pagan Rome. And that's where a lot of pagan practices started to take place, sexual, ritualistic practices and all that stuff. So it moved from ancient Rome to pagan Rome. And then when Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, he became, in a sense, the first pope. It then became Papal Rome. So it's the same system, it's the same Antichrist spirit, just dressed in a different guise. It started as ancient Rome, the great persecuting Roman army, and then it moved to pagan Rome, and then it moved from pagan Rome to Papal Rome. So today, Papal Rome might not be a military external force. using physical power to take dominance like the ancient Roman Empire did. But what happens is it changed to a spiritual giant. So we know from history that it used to be church and state were intertwined, were together. Today it's separate. We have a separation of church and state. When it was together intertwined, that was when Christianity and Judaism was persecuted the most. There was terrible persecution because the Papal Rome used the state to enforce power, to enforce their jurisdiction. They used physical power, and Christians were martyred. Jews and Christians were thrown into colosseums and burned. Christians were burned at the stake, and terrible things happened because church and state were together. They were one arm, one unit. Today it is separate. So Papal Rome is the same as pagan Rome, ancient Rome, just a different guise. And today church and state are separate, and we're going to see how they're going to start to come together as we reach the end of times. And the Antichrist system is very present within that institution, in that system. I showed you in the first video, and we're going to hit on that again today as we continue this series with the Jesuits and the hidden powers behind Catholicism. Again, we've got a lot of content to cover, and we're going to jump right into that. And one last question I just want to clarify on or address is that people would say, oh, are you saying that Pope Francis is the Antichrist? I'm not saying that Pope Francis is the Antichrist. I don't believe he is the Antichrist. But the Antichrist is the Roman Catholic system, which consists of, remember we spoke, there's an esoteric dimension, and then there's an exoteric dimension, which is for the masses. The system is the Antichrist system, or the Antichrist spirit is present in that system using Papal Rome or Roman Catholicism to enforce his agenda in the earth. So no, I don't believe Pope Francis is the Antichrist, but he is the head. He occupies the head hierarchy, the most high position in Papal Rome. He's basically just a puppet. The hidden forces, the esoteric hidden forces, are the ones that are actually controlling and dictating what is really happening or what must happen. But the Pope himself, the man, the physical man, is just a puppet, but he occupies the seat. We're going to begin again with asking the question, what is truth? And Walter Martin, a conservative evangelical, the late Walter Martin, says it this way: truth by definition is exclusive. If truth were all inclusive, nothing would be false. So remember, it's not my truth or your truth or us going on a journey to find what our truth is. No, we go to the pages of the Word and we find that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes unto the Father except through me. That is the words of Jesus. So Jesus Christ is the embodiment of truth, and we discover that truth through the pages of this Word and the Holy Spirit that gives inspiration and breathes upon our hearts. So here we see again, as in the first video, that all the 5 major religions, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and Judaism, have an exoteric dimension and an esoteric dimension. So surprisingly to many of you, even Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity have this insider dimension, which they call the esoteric, and then an outsider dimension, which they call exoteric, which is for the goyim, the masses, the people that are not supposed to get insight into the hidden truths of what is actually taking place in that institution or movement or whatever it may be. Here we have a diagram by Gary H. Carr, En route to global occupation. He shows a very detailed layout of secret societies and how it started from antiquity, from the ancient world, even before ancient Egypt. Here we have ancient mystery religions, and you will see how he explains that Babylon, Egypt, India, Persia, Greece, etc. all were forms of pantheism. Now, pantheism is the ancient religious belief that God is in everything. God is in a tree, God is in a coffee mug, God is in your car, God is on your shirt, God is in everywhere. And you'll see that pantheism is very present within the New Age movement today. We'll get there eventually, but here he says ancient mystery religions. So all the ancient religions, or the ancient empires from Babylon, Egypt, India, Persia, Greece, etc. All forms of pantheism which has its roots in the ancient mystery religions. And from there then it stems out to witchcraft, sorcery, divination, spiritualism, the occult practices, Eastern religions, Hinduism, Buddhism. All these find their roots in the ancient mystery religions from antiquity. Next, he puts Kabbalism, that is an ancient Jewish mystic spirituality from ancient Judaism and even way before that. The Kabbalistic teachings is a sect from normal Judaism where they've mystified and they brought in secret mystical teachings from the ancient world. And there's a lot of famous celebrities, singers, actors, actresses that are actually part of the Kabbalistic sect or cult, Madonna being one of them, and many, many more. From there we have Gnosticism, the belief that Jesus, although the Spirit of Christ came upon a man, that everything physical is sinful, therefore Jesus couldn't have been a physical man in a physical body. It was just a spirit that came upon him at certain times. This was very rife during the time John the Apostle wrote his epistles. There was a huge attack or invasion of Gnosticism into the church, and John was addressing this through his letters of 1st and 2nd John about Gnosticism. That's why he said, the word of life, we held him, we touched him, we looked upon him. So from Gnosticism, then we find the Knights Templars, which actually originates from the Temple of Solomon, and cannot explain all the details to that now. Hopefully we will eventually get to that. But the Knights Templars are still very much present in the Freemasonry today. So from the Knights Templars we get the Rosicrucians, and from the Rosicrucians we get Freemasonry and Illuminati, which is an elite division of Freemasonry. Many people say, oh, Illuminati is just a conspiracy. Not so. We're gonna see that they are very, very much real. So they're just an elite form of Freemasonry. So Freemasonry, Illuminati, comes from something much greater, far greater, as we can see as we go up this ladder, as it all draws its roots or finds its roots in ancient mystery religions, even back to the Tower of Babel with King Nimrod and during the time of the Nephilim. So Freemasonry, Illuminati just has its roots in something far greater, far more wicked. So here we see on the left we have Marxism, which actually comes from Freemasonry. That might be shocking to some of you. Also the American and European secret political societies. So the political world also comes or is controlled by Freemasonry and the Illuminati. We also have the international banking elite, the major banks, the Federal Reserve Bank is all controlled by Masonry and the Illuminati. Here we see the World Council of Churches, also part of Freemasonry, or Freemasonry responsible or controlling the World Council of Churches. We touched on that a little bit in the first video, how Rome has created this counter-reformation called the Jesuits and sent their secret ministers by stealth into the church world, into the Protestant world, to bring in secretly damnable heresies, as warned by the apostles in the Bible. They will secretly bring in damnable heresies, these false ministers of light. And when they infiltrate the Protestant world, the church world, the different denominations, we spoke about them, whether you Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, Southern Baptist, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, Charismatic, Pentecostal, Word of Faith, Prophetic. These Jesuits were specifically sent in to infiltrate the very core doctrines, faith and belief of these church denominations and movements, so that they can slowly steer them back towards Rome, back to the Antichrist system. And we mentioned that the founder of the Jesuit order, Ignatius of Loyola, I pronounced it as Wayola in the first video. I specifically did that for a reason, because of the pronunciation. Very difficult to pronounce that word. If you're speaking fast, you say Wayola. It's sort of like, you make like a fumble with your tongue. So, but I've sort of like practiced it a little bit. It's Loyola, Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Then we see on the right-hand side here, we mentioned that witchcraft, sorcery, divination all comes from ancient mystery religions. Here we see that the World Council of Churches has links to the New Age movement. So here we see from Freemasonry, Illuminati, we begin to see who are the creators or the inventors of the New Age movement, which is infiltrating the Christian church today, creeping into the Pentecostal charismatic church like a serpent. So here we see where it originates from. There's an intention behind it. It's not just free spiritual people going around, oh, we New Age, we practice this, we free spirits. No, there's an intention behind it. It finds its roots in Freemasonry and the Illuminati. So from Freemasonry stems out what we call the Theosophical Society, a very spiritualistic cult or spiritual sect, which was established by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. We're going to study her as well. And then also from Illuminati comes many cults of the 1800s that stemmed out from Freemasonry as well. And then from there we see it ends up in the New Age movement, which is really what the enemy wants to use as the one world religion, which is going to come from Papal Rome. And we're going to prove that. Here in the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, who was probably the most high-ranked Freemason, 1871 by Albert Pike, page 814 to 821. The Templars were gravely accused of spitting upon Christ and denying God at their receptions of gross obscenities, conversations with female devils, and the worship of a monstrous idol. He goes on to say, Morals and Dogma, page 817, the Templars, like all other secret orders and associations, had two doctrines, one concealed and one reserved for the masters, which was Johannism, the other public, which was the Roman Catholic Church. So here he says, as we said in the first video, there is a concealed inner dimension, which he calls Johannism, a word not very popular today. Very little know about Johannism, but he says this is Johannism. What he's basically saying is Johannism is the esoteric circle of Roman Catholicism. And he says that the Roman Catholic Church or Roman Catholicism or Papal Rome is the outside or the exoteric part of this whole system, this institution, which we believe is the Antichrist system. So insider Johannism, the inside part, and the exterior or the exoteric part, which is Roman Catholicism. Albert Pike, born 1809 and died in 1891. His many titles included Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council of the 33rd Degree, Mother Council of the World, and Supreme Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry. So here is a man that was the most high-ranked Freemason that there ever was. So if we ever wanted to hear or find out something about Freemasonry or who controls Freemasonry or what it is about or what is the agenda of Freemasonry and the elite division of Freemasonry, which is Illuminati, if we really want to get answers, we need to go to the most high-ranked hierarchy source, and that would be the man Albert Pike. So can we find a link between Freemasonry and Roman Catholicism? Can we find a link between the world religions, the big five, Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism? Can we find a link between all the major five world religions and Rome? Well, let's have a look. So what is the purpose behind this insider Johannism, the inside dimension of the whole system, the outside being Roman Catholicism? What is the agenda of this insider Johannism? The agenda is, the whole motive and intention for this is for Lucifer to channel worship back to him. So he starts from the outside to what is marketed on the outside to the goyim. Remember the goyim, the masses, the people that don't have the insider information. So it's marketed as a church or Christianity, in this sense the Roman Catholic Church, and this is Satan's way of channeling the worship all the way back towards him. So they start worshipping on the outside and they bow down to statues and they do sacraments and all sorts of ritualistic practices and worships. And as we mentioned in the first video, if you're a Roman Catholic, we sincerely believe that you are a sincere, devout person that is really looking for truth, that loves the Lord. But what is actually happening while we're going through all those rituals and practices and sacraments. Lucifer is using that to channel your worship back towards himself, back right into the inner circle of insider Johannism, the secret information that's withheld, which you don't know about. But today we are exposing this so the light bulb can go on, so that we can wake you up and that you can realize that you're being deceived, and then make a quality decision once you have realized that you've been deceived. Are you going to continue on that path of deception, or are you going to step and make a complete turnaround? The very word repentance is, I'm walking in this direction and I turn around and I walk in this direction. So that is the challenge that we are bringing forward to you today. We are waking you up from this deception, and now that you have been shaken awake, what are you going to do about it? If we wanted to get a deeper, greater understanding into what is really the intention, the motive, the modus operandi of these elite small minority that are controlling the masses, they are basically a very small group that we can ask that really know. People that were right at the top of the hierarchy ranked in these institutions. One is Albert Pike, the highest ranked Freemason. Another would be Helena Petrovna Blavatsky of the Theosophical Society. The whole New Age movement, as we said, literally comes from there. It's a spirituality. And then another one would be Amy Besant, and another one would be Alice A. Bailey. So those four individuals, these are very high-ranked people in the occult, which will be able to tell us what is really going on behind the scenes here. So the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike is a book, it's the Masonic Bible, and you can only obtain that Bible and look inside and read the hidden ancient insider secrets of the ancient world. You can only obtain that book when you become a 33-degree Freemason. 32, 31, 30 degree, nope. When you're a 33-degree Freemason, then you will begin given access to Morals and Dogma. So here we have a document from Freemasonry, and here if we zero in, we see written Ordo ab Chaos. Now what this basically means is order out of chaos, thesis, antithesis. Remember we mentioned this in the first video. In order to establish, to bring a solution, we have to create chaos. So chaos, order rises out of chaos, the rising phoenix, all right? Out of chaos comes order. Thesis, antithesis, and then we bring in the solution, the thesis, the synthesis. We also see a picture of an eagle, and you'll notice here above the eagle's head is the sun, ancient sun worship. And you'll notice that the eagle has a double head, a two-headed eagle. What does that mean? A double-headed eagle basically means the double-headed eagle is the double-faced God, good and evil. So this God, this Luciferian God, is both sides. He's good and he's bad. He's black and he's white. He's male and he's female. Thesis, antithesis, black, white. Here we see inside a Freemasonry temple, the IHS of Catholicism. Very interesting. What is it doing there? What is it doing in a Freemasonry temple if it belongs in the church, the Catholic Church, which is the Church of God? Apparently, this is by Albert Pike, Lodge number 162. IHS, he says, represents Isis, Horus, and Set, the three ancient sun gods of ancient Egypt. But Roman Catholics, devout, pure, sincere Roman Catholics in the outer marketed part of insider Johannism, Roman Catholics are told HIS represents what? In his service. Albert Pike says, no, it does not represent in his service. It literally stands for Isis, Horus, and Set, the three ancient sun gods of Egypt. What is this doing in a Masonic temple if this is a symbol of Christianity, of Roman Catholicism, which is the church, the supreme, the mother church, and all the other churches must come back? Then the question I ask is, what is this doing in a Masonic temple? The Digest of Masonic Law 207 to 209. Masonry has nothing to do with the Bible. It is not founded upon the Bible, for if it were, it would not be Masonry, it would be something else. So they're very clearly Freemasonry for those who think, oh, it's a very good Christian charitable organization. No. That's for the goyim, the uninitiates. But this man is telling you, this is from the highest ranked Freemason. He says Freemasonry has nothing to do with the Bible. Morals and Dogma, page 819. Their true explication is reserved for the adepts, the princes of Masonry. The whole body of the royal and sacerdotal art was hidden so carefully centuries since in the higher degrees. Going on in page 104, 105 of Morals and Dogma, Masonry, like all the religions, all the mysteries, Hermetism and alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and sages. All the elect and uses false explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols to mislead those who deserve only to be misled. So here he's saying is the masses, the people that don't know what's going on the inside, they deserve to be misled. And the secret stuff that is only concealed for the sages, those the high-ranked ones that are within this inner circle, in this esoteric sect, this is only kept for them. The secrets of the universe are only for them and is not disclosed to the masses, because the masses deserve to be misled. Many people would argue and they say, oh, Freemasonry is only a white male-only sect or cult. Well, here we have Mrs. Elizabeth Aldworth, who is a 33-degree Freemason. Here we see in this picture here, on the right, there she is in her Masonic regalia. Here we have Brother Annie Besant, a 33-degree Freemason, a female. You might ask the question, why is she addressed as Brother Annie Besant? Remember we said from the eagle with the double head, this Luciferian god, Lucifer, which is a double-faced god. He has two faces, he's black and white, he is good and bad, he's male and female. So because the god that they serve in Freemasonry, which is Lucifer, the light bearer, because he is both male and female, the female Masonic initiates are addressed as brother. You see? So it's a perversion of the order of creation. So women now get addressed as brother or father. You might be a male figure, but people address you as father or as brother. This comes from Luciferian doctrine, from the Masonic Lodge, the teachings of Freemasonry. Here we have the Prince Hall Freemasonry, which is for non-white Freemasons, both male and female. Here we have the Scottish Rite on this side. On the right-hand side, the York Rite. Knights of the York Cross of Honor. And you'll see from out here stems the Knights Templar, Knights of Malta. There's a few ministers within Protestantism, within the charismatic prophetic movement, that are actually members of the Knights Malta. I'm not here to name names. I'm not that type of person. I don't name names because I don't know that man's life or that woman's life. But what I can tell you from their own quotes, from facts, that ministers within the charismatic church are part of the Knights Malta. Here is the Order of the Red Cross. My question is, what are they doing there in the first place? We know, we've proved, Albert Pike, the most highly ranked Freemason, tells us, as well as Helena Petrotli-Blavatsky, she tells us that Freemasonry is a Luciferian doctrine. It's based on the doctrine of Lucifer. So if a minister is from the Knights Malta, from the Knights Templar, what is he doing there? Order of the Red Cross, Super Excellent Master, Select Master, Royal Master, and it goes on and on and on. And you'll see that here on the right hand side, there are female bodies that are also involved in this. So it might not just be a male minister, it could be a female minister as well. Here we see Conference of Grand Masters, Prince Hall Masons Incorporated, Most Worshipful Grand Masters. And here we see there are non-white Masonic members of the highest degree. Here we have Florida David L. Wright, M.W. Grand Master. Here we have Rhode Island Clement E. Harris, M.W. Grand Master. Here we have Worthy Grand Matron Martha, who is a female Mason. And here's another thing. If you can identify your favorite minister behind a pulpit dressed in regalia very similar to this, in the same color coding or very similar to this type of regalia or garment, might it just be that he is a Freemason of the highest degree? And if he is, my question again, what is he doing there? If Albert Pike and Elena Petrovna Blavatsky from the Theosophical Society, the most high-ranked witch in spiritualism, says that this is a Luciferian practice, they worship Lucifer, what are they doing there? I'm not mentioning names. You can go and look for yourself and see if your leader wears regalia similar to this, and then ask the question, why? Charles G. Berger explains this. He says, thus, symbols come to have two meanings, the esoteric and the exoteric. The esoteric meaning was the true or original meaning understood by only a few and closely guarded by them. The exoteric meaning was the invented or modified explanation intended for the what? For the many. The marketed version. For the masses. He goes on to say, these sacred mysteries very often were merely continuations of the simpler forms of early sex worship carried on by a select few. Oh, so now we start to get more insight into what's really going on here. So here we see ancient sexual practices that are also included into this whole thing. Here we see on a Roman Catholic temple a symbol of Freemasonry. Here we see the set square compass. Inside we have the triangle with the all-seeing eye from ancient Egypt, which is used for the Illuminati. And then right behind that we see the sun. Here's another picture. We see the all-seeing eye from ancient Egypt, Isis, Horus, and Set, and the sun behind that, depicting sun worship. Here we see the triangle and the compass of Freemasonry, and here is the crossed swords as well. So let's find out more about this all-seeing eye from Isis, Horus, and Set from ancient Egypt that is very famously used for the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. So Robert Hieronymus says this, to the ancient Egyptians, the right eye symbolized the sun and the left eye the moon. So he's basically saying the right eye symbolizes the sun, the left eye symbolizes the moon. That is why we have these famous music artists, doing their raps and their music videos, and they go like that, or in their pictures. Lady Gaga, Bono from U2, who is in actual fact part of the Illuminati, by the way, with pictures, and in their videos they're going like this, they look cool. No, they're doing that. There's a reason why they're doing that. It's the all-seeing eye. If you close this eye, it's the moon. If you close this eye, it's the sun. The Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, page 114, explains about Baal or Baal worship. Whenever the Israelites made one of their almost periodical deflections to idolatry, Baal or Baal worship seems to have been the favorite idol to whose worship they addicted themselves to. Continuing with the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, page 114, entire Baal was the sun and Astaroth the moon. Baal Peor, the lord of priapism, was the sun represented as the generative principle of nature and identical with the phallus of other religions. All right. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, page 321. Lucifer the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. So there again, he emphatically states that the god of Freemasonry, of insider secret societies, is Lucifer the light bearer. Albert Pike, 33-degree instructions to the 23 Supreme Councils of the World, July 14, 1889. Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God, little g. Thus, the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, god of light and of God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. Whoa. So here he's saying, from the mouth of the horse itself, from Albert Pike, he says that Lucifer is God. And Adonai, the God of the Bible, unfortunately is also God, little g. All right. And the true worship and religion is actually that of Luciferian. It's Luciferian doctrine. Lucifer is the real light bearer. And unfortunately, Adonai, he's also God. So there's got to be a war. There's a war that's waging here according to their doctrines, to their writings, to their hidden truths. He says here that but Lucifer, the God of light, Lucifer's the true God of light, and there's a struggle for humanity. Now we know that the Bible says that Michael the archangel warred with the dragon. All right, so the Bible describes to us that there was a war in heaven between good and evil, between God and the great dragon Lucifer. So they are saying here too, yes, there's a war going on as well. There is a war going on, but the true God here, it's a war that Adonai, little God, is warring against Lucifer, who is the true God. So you see how they have inverted it in true occult fashion once again. They flip it over. So the supreme God, who is God Adonai, now it gets put to the bottom, and Lucifer gets exalted as the supreme God, the true God of light. Here is exactly a diagram or a layout of a Masonic temple. This is exactly what it looks like, the layout of a typical temple in a Freemasonry lodge. Here we see on the east, you come in through the east, and that represents the worshipful master. Right in the middle, you'll see the pentagram, the very famous satanic occult symbol. You'll notice that the floor, again, is the chessboard, black and white, from the Knights Templar, which originates from Temple of Solomon. And then you will see right here in the front towards the west. You remember in the book of Ezekiel, the worshippers, they turned their backs from the west, where the temple, because the tabernacle was set out where the most holy of holies, the place where God dwells, was to the west, and you entered through the east. So they've replicated this, as Satan always imitates everything God does, but he inverts it. All right. So here you see in the west is the senior warden, and you'll see here to the south is the junior warden. And then you will notice here, interestingly, on the left, on the north side, you will see the place of Masonic darkness. This is the place where Lucifer himself dwells, the darkness, all right, which represents withheld, secret, ancient, mystical information. Isaiah 14 verse 12 to 14, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Lucifer saying, I will exalt myself. I will exalt myself. I am God. I want to be God. Here we see a layout, a comparison between the sanctuary in the Bible that God instructed the Israelites to set out for worship to Yahweh towards the east, towards the west. And here we see right next to it the Masonic temple. You will notice that it is the complete opposite, in the opposite direction to the true temple, the true tabernacle, or formation of worship towards God, towards the west. And remember again in the book of Ezekiel, the account where the Israelites were found with their backs, a very, very sad incident in the Bible. Instead of worshipping towards the east, they had their backs turned towards the altar where what represents Yahweh, and they were facing the rising sun, worshipping the rising sun, acknowledging that the sun god is a supreme god, which is Lucifer himself. So here, right inside a Masonic lodge, we have a statue of Albert Pike himself, Albert Pike, lodge number 162. And if you zero in on there, you will see it says, to study and seek to interpret correctly the symbols of the universe is the work of the sage and philosopher. It is to decipher the writings of God. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. Here we see a statue of a female figure within this Masonic lodge, and you'll notice that she's got a finger on her mouth. Now, most, especially Catholics, will say, oh, that is a statue, because it's also found in some Catholic churches as well. They'll say that means, be quiet, respect the presence of holiness, you're in a place of holiness. No, that's not actually what it means. It means sworn to secrecy. Shh, be quiet, this is a secret. Here again in the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, page 236, those brethren who delight to trace our emblems to an astronomical origin find in the compass a symbol of the sun and circular pivot representing the body of the luminary and the diverging legs of his rays. It continues, hardly any of the symbols of Freemasonry are more important in their significance or more extensive in their application than the sun. The sun, too, as the regenerator or reviver of all things, is the phallic worship which made a prominent part of the mysteries. Now, phallic worship, which is also a sexual ritualistic practices, which also dates right back to Bible times as well. We know about the Temple of Tammuz. There were ancient sexual practices happening there. We find that in Ezekiel 8. And we're going to get into phallic worship as well, because it's also very important within this entire organization. Here we see the eye of Lucifer in the sexagesimal triangle on a Roman Catholic pulpit in Paris, France. What is it doing there? If Rome is the mother church, if Roman Catholicism is the church and all other churches must come back, then what is it doing there? Here is another picture of Jesus at the Last Supper with his apostles. And you'll notice here behind Jesus' head is a sun. And you'll see the sun rays. And where is the sun rays coming from? The all-seeing eye, with the sun at the back of it as well, with the triangle with the all-seeing eye within it. So basically what they're saying is Jesus gets his power or his energy from the all-seeing eye of Isis, Horus, and Set, from ancient Egypt, the sun god. Here we see a high-ranked individual hierarchy. Look at his hat, which is in the shape of a fish, or the fish god, or Dagon, the god Dagon from the sea. And that is where the whole marine kingdom comes from. Dagon, the god Dagon. And you'll see a lot of the popes and the cardinals, they wear this funny shaped hat in the shape of the mouth of a fish. It's from Dagon, the god of the sea, the water god. We'll get into that in another lecture. And you will see he's dressed in red, in a red regalia, or red robe. And you'll notice the white here. Doesn't this look very much like Santa Claus to you? Saint Nicholas? Let's not even go there. Here again is the hat, or the head covering of the Pope. And what do you see again? The shape, the fish, the mouth of the fish god Dagon from the ocean. And right in the center, what do you see? There is a triangle with the sun rays at the back. This is typical sun worship. A confessional in the Cathedral of Milano, Italy. Here we see again the triangle with the all-seeing eye, and at the back, the sun at the back and the rays of the sun. Here again, ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. And here we see the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So out of the chaos rises the solution. And we saw that happen with 9/11. We saw that happen with the pandemic, the recent pandemic that the entire world went through. Not to mention anything specific, I don't want to get flagged, but out of chaos comes the solution, the order. From black comes white. Thesis, antithesis, and then we bring in the synthesis to solve between good and bad, the solution between good and bad. Here's a picture with the sun, and you'll notice inside the sun is the moon. This is the Baal Hadad, and very interestingly, as we get further on in this, you're going to find out how that's a very prominent symbol within Islam, the Baal Hadad. Here is a very famous symbol in Judaism. We know that the flag of Israel has what they call the Star of David. Inside it, there's the cross of Christ, and that's inside the Catholic cathedrals, the temples. What is it doing there? That's Judaism. What is it doing inside their temples? That brings us to the end of part 2 of the Jesuits, the hidden powers of Catholicism. So we've shown you that from these high-ranked individuals themselves, high-ranked occultists within these movements, in these organizations, have explained to us with facts, evidence. They've shown us, they've explained to us what is really going on. What is this all about? What's the agenda? Who do they worship? Because at the end of the day, that's the question. That is the question of all questions. Who do you worship? And they have shown us that within Freemasonry, within these secret organizations, within Insider Johannism, the inside dimension of Catholicism, Lucifer is the god that they worship. And we're going to trace back and see, can we find Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism also with links to Rome? Are they also part of the Roman Empire, or the Papal, which we call Papal Rome today? Can we find links? Can we trace them back to Rome as well? We're going to cover some very interesting things. Be sure to join us for that second part of this video. Be sure to like, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment in the comment section if you want us to answer a question that you may have. Bless you.